Hi, I'm Rode Artayulani Saragi. I'm a student of Faculty of Letters of Universitas Methodis Indonesia, Medan. And in this video, I'm going to discuss about Chapter 1, Chapter 2, and Chapter 3 in a thesis. Chapter 1, Introduction. In Chapter 1, there are 5 subtitles. The first one is the background of the study. The second one is the problems of the study. The third one is the objectives of the study. The fourth one is the scope of the study. The fifth one is the significance of the study. Now, let's discuss these 5 subtitles one by one. 1.1 The background of the study. The background of the study is the first subtitle of Chapter 1 Introduction. This section describes the things that are the background of the research carried out. The description starts with general matters, which are the background in accordance with the research topic, and then narrows to specific matters. As we can see in the thesis entitled Derivational Affixes on song lyrics in Westlife's Greatest Hits album. So, in describing the background of the research, we can start with things in general that are the background according to the research topic or the title of the thesis. You can see the example because derivational affixes are part of morphology, and morphology is branch of linguistics, and linguistics is the study of language. So we can start a general narrative in the background with the explanation about language. In the second paragraph, we can see that background explanations start to narrow a little, namely outlining an explanation of morphology. Then, in the third paragraph, the description of the background explanation is getting narrower, namely outlining the explanation of morpheme. Furthermore, in the fourth paragraph, we can see the explanatory description of things that are specific or core, namely about derivational morphemes. In describing the research background, we also need to include the opinions of certain experts related to the research topic. For example, in the second paragraph, in explaining the meaning of morphology, we can add definition of morphology from expert. In this case, the writer used the definition of morphology by Leiber. 2009, page 8. Remember how it is written. Leiber, parenthesis, 2009, page 8. In the last paragraph, give a clear statement why you choose the thesis topic based on the descriptions and explanations that have been mentioned in the previous paragraphs. We can see the example in the last paragraph. 1.2 The problems of the study. The problems of the study is the second subtitle of Chapter 1. It contains questions that have been formulated about the object of the research. In short, this section shows the reader what questions the writer will answer in the analysis section. In a thesis, there are usually 2 questions, and the formulation of the questions is generally in the form of what and how questions. The problems of the study in a research must be in sync with the thesis title or topic. As we can see in the thesis entitled Derivational Affixes on song lyrics in Westlife's Greatest Hits album. Based on the title, there are 2 problems that we can formulate. The first problem is, what are derivational affixes found on song lyrics in Westlife's Greatest Hits album? And the second one is, what are the functions of derivational affixes on song lyrics in Westlife's Greatest Hits album? 1.3 The objectives of the study. The objectives of the study is the third subtitle of Chapter 1. It is about finding answers to the questions or problems contained in 1.2 or the problems of the study. The research objective in our research must be in sync with the questions or problems contained in 1.2 or the problems of the study. As we can see in the previous example, there are two problems of the study entitled Derivational Affixes on song lyrics in Westlife's Greatest Hits album. So, the objectives of the study must be in sync with problems on 1.2. Thus, the objectives of the study are to describe the derivational affixes that are found on song lyrics in Westlife's Greatest Hits album and to find out the functions of derivational affixes on song lyrics in Westlife's Greatest Hits album. 1.4. The scope of the study. The scope of the study is the fourth subtitle of Chapter 1. It contains the focus of the writer on the research carried out. In this section, describes the focus of the writer on the selected topic, along with the data used as the object of the research, and also the theory used in analyzing the data. The purpose of making the scope of the study is so that the discussion carried out in the thesis can be focused on the problems to be discussed, namely problems in 1.2 or the problems of the study. As we can see in the thesis entitled Derivational Affixes on Song Lyrics in Westlife's Greatest Hits album, based on the title, so the scope of the study is focus on derivational affixes on song lyrics in Westlife's Greatest Hits album, and the writer used derivational affixes theory by Plack 2002 in discussing the types of derivational affixes. 1.5. The significances of the study. The significances of the study is the fifth subtitle of Chapter 1. In this section, the writer describes the benefits of the study for other researchers, students with linguistics and non-linguistics interests, and other readers. There are two types of these significances that should be presented, namely theoretically and practically. Chapter 2. Review of related literature. This chapter contains concepts and theories to answer the problems in Chapter 1. The contents of Chapter 2 must be also organized to cover specific problems. It must be related to your topic. As much as possible, get the latest published materials. Avoid all published materials. If there is only one problem, the researcher only needs to use one theory. And if there are two problems, so the researcher needs to use two theories, and so on. This chapter doesn't merely provide a definitional explanation. However, it must be a theoretical benchmark that the research object under study has met its academic criteria, which are also supported by relevant previous studies. Therefore, 90% of the contents of Chapter 2 come from relevant literature such as textbooks, journals, and articles. At the end of this chapter, there is a previous study which is previous research that has the same topic, which is usually used to compare and find areas of research that have not been studied by previous researchers. Chapter 3 Research Method. Chapter 3 outlines the analytical methods used in the research. Chapter 3 consists of 4 subtitles. The first one is Research Design. The second one is Source of Data. The third one is the procedures of data collection. And the fourth one is the techniques of data analysis. Now, let's discuss these subtitles one by one. 3.1 Research Design. Research design is an explanation of the research approach and methods used. Descriptive qualitative methods or descriptive quantitative methods. In 3.1 or research design, explain what method you used to describe the data based on the research problems. The appropriate research design should be specified and described. 3.2 Source of data. Source of data is the subject from which the data can be obtained. In 3.2 or source of data, mention all the data you used in your research and also the source from which you get your research data. 3.3 The procedures of data collection. The procedures of data collection is the steps used by researchers to obtain research data. In 3.3 or the procedures of data collection, mention all the steps or procedures you took in obtaining the required research data. 3.4 The procedures of data analysis. The procedures of data analysis is the steps to process the data that has been collected into information so that it becomes a finding in research. In 3.4 or the procedures of data analysis, mention all the steps or procedures you took in analyzing the data that has been collected. Okay, now we are at the end of the video. Before I end this video, I would like to say thank you to my lecturer, Dr. Ikson Ambarita M.Hum, who has guided me in linguistic research report course, and also to all of you. Thank you for watching this video.